So, good morning, everyone. I will start with the presentation, and we will cover today quite a lot. It will be made up by several sessions. The first session I will cover, and the next one will be covered by our esteemed colleagues from Magna Steyr Fahrzeugtechnik. And the third one will be our discussion, which will conclude our session today. Let me just see. Can I run the presentation for a second? So the agenda is made up by 5 chapters. First, I will introduce myself. I will also tell you what is the motivation of this session. Then we will dive into the questions relating to EasyPlan. That are 6 questions and also the relating answers to it. Then Magna Steyr will present themselves. For that purpose, Nina and Daniel are present in our session. They will also open up their own presentation. Then comes the part where you can get involved. Then we will have an open discussion. I will also then unmute all your mics, but you will not necessarily need them because we will have you will get a QR code where you can address your questions also through your devices, but nevertheless, you can also involve yourself using the mic. Finally, we will go then to the next steps. First of all, something from myself. My name is Ernest Wieler. I'm 44 years old. I'm married. I have 2 children. And I've been in the consulting business since for 17 years. Primarily as a solution architect for all kinds of manufacturing projects. That can be Teamcenter MPP, that can be EasyPlan, that can be NXALP, that was also process designer. There's many projects relating to manufacturing from Siemens, but not only Siemens, but also going into SAP. What is the motivation for today? Well, the motivation for today, we have 3 points I want to cover. It is, of course, a follow-up from the Realize Live. So who was there could also address questions there, but we had so many questions and sometimes repetitive questions where I thought, oh, let us have a follow-up call where we cover this again for everyone, because I believe that many customers, potential customers, had the questions which might be also interest for the other companies. So I thought that this would be a good way to do this again. The second one is I want to address all questions which have been raised in the 3 days. We were having, of course, questions regarding EasyPlan primarily. That was our biggest topic, but not only. So I want to cover all of those EasyPlan questions again. But if there are some relating questions to EasyPlan also present, then you can address them too. For example, you have also the challenge to connect your EasyPlan with a downstream process, such as an ERP system. That would be perfectly fine to be addressed here too. But last but not least, I want to share experience. I think that many of you have the same obstacles, the same challenges, and maybe that will be the best to share this experience also with the others. At least I'm sharing this with you, and I'm welcoming you to do this also among yourselves. So that is the motivation, and let us go now to the questions relating to EasyPlan. And the first is fairly basic, and I need to address this. What are the primary use cases of EasyPlan? The reason why I have to address this question is because I had also this kind of question, that people were coming to our booth and they were just generally asking, what is the main primary use case of the EasyPlan application? And I will list them, which we had in the past. The first and most important one is to establish a comprehensive product process resource model, or short PPR model. So we have the MBOM, we have the process structure, and we have the resource structure. And all of them need to be connected to one comprehensive model, which in many cases and many companies, it's called the PPR model. And that is the main use case of EasyPlan. So what many are underestimating in EasyPlan, however, is that we use EasyPlan also in order to enhance our engineering process by collaborating with process planning. When doing this, we have the ability to address production questions, production challenges in a very early stage, and we can also intervene if there is something going wrong in engineering. So the collaboration aspect of the process planning while accessing the EBOM and therefore going to the MBOM is a quite crucial part of this process planning. Another one, of course, is the creation of the process lines, the process stations, the process itself, and the steps beneath it. That is the actual bill of process, which is the core, your core target when establishing or when using EasyPlan. The minor aspects, I would not say minor, the other aspects of it is creating a time analysis. For example, when we are dealing with final assembly processes, you are compelled to use time analysis in many cases, and EasyPlan is capable of doing that. Of course, the cycle time needs to be matched. You should not go over it. And if you do, then we are very fast in the line balancing area, for which also the EasyPlan has the right tools. What I have increasingly encountered in the last months is the need for establishing work instruction. And work instructions can be generated fairly independently from any process structure, but the tight connection with EasyPlan, the tight connection with process planning in general, comes more into focus, and many use already EasyPlan or MPP. It doesn't matter if it's the rich client or the thin client or the web application. They use the content which they generated from there for creating the work instructions. The virtual planning aspect is one of the major reasons which led that many customers are moving more and more into the Teamcenter applications for process planning, for creating the bill of process in general, because they contain all the 3D information coming from the product to the resources and using them into a digital mock-up situation or scenario. The fact that more and more customers are moving their data from ERP systems to PLM also led to the need to create the right interfaces and transfer mechanisms from the PLM system to the ERP. So it is basically also a preparation for the execution in the manufacturing when you create the bill of process and all the relating structures such as the MBOM and also the resources needed for creating the products. So using the interfaces to the ERP system is then the next step for many customers. That are the 7 use cases. It's probably also a few more for some customers. I'm just lining up the ones which were for us the most important ones and which also encountered us in the last years. The second question, and that is actually an interesting one, has Caron supported customers in moving their process planning from MPP to EasyPlan, and what were the main challenges? So we had also customers, companies who were already using the rich client application of Teamcenter, the MPP, and they were now asking the question, can we move to EasyPlan? And of course, what were the challenges there? Well, we had, of course, challenges, and they related from the fact that the rich client, the MPP, is quite capable. It's very strong. It has a lot of possibilities, and we were using it also in very vast methods and possibilities in MPP. So whatever was possible was used, to say the least. And that was perfectly fine. There were very few constraints with MPP. We could connect object types with object types. We could use variant conditions on all structures. There were no real limitations whatsoever. The EasyPlan, however, goes a different approach, and the approach is quite understandable because the rich client was for many then too strong, too powerful, too hard to manage. It was when it comes to user interface a behemoth, and EasyPlan tried to roll that back and say we will focus on a certain workflow. So we had a streamlined interface in EasyPlan, and also then I would say limited way to work with it. So when working with a streamlined user interface, you also try to trim down the amount of buttons, and you try to focus them on the task ahead of you. They were also designed around that task. So when Siemens was designing the EasyPlan, they had a specific workflow or some workflows, very, very tightly, very narrowly designed. And that led to compatibility issues. So we had the one world, the old world with extensive capabilities, and then we had the streamlined world with EasyPlan, which said you have to do it this way, and if you do it in a different way, you might end up into problems. And that led in some cases to questions regarding the data model designs in the MPP area, because of course the customer used the MPP since 5 years, 10 years, sometimes even more. So the data model was quite old, and EasyPlan had a certain data model which it preferred. So we were definitely talking how to deal with that kind of situation, because in EasyPlan suddenly certain things were not possible, which were possible in the rich client. So there were two ways to deal with that kind of challenge. And the first one was, of course, to talk to Siemens and ask for an enhancement, because in some cases it was absolutely necessary that certain functionalities need to be carried over to EasyPlan, and Siemens also complied to this from time to time, faster than other times. Sometimes it takes longer for them, but it is basically a new product from version to version when I was dealing with EasyPlan in the last years. Sometimes we have also to adjust the methodology, so sometimes it made also sense to make the adjustments if that was possible for both parties. Of course, we always preferred this one because that was the easiest way forward. The third question: are there any shortcomings in EasyPlan which are supported in MPP but not in EasyPlan? Are there any examples? And that is basically an enhancement of the questions before, because yeah, there were cases where we were missing some fundamental functionalities in EasyPlan. This is one of them is the creating of a process plan. The process plan where I design a step-to-step approach. That was not so important when you have a sequential process plan where you say step 1, step 2, step 3, all of them are operating sequentially. But once you have a parallel process, that was more of a problem, and there was no solution to that for quite some time. Only in the EasyPlan 6.x, I'm not sure if it was 6.0 or 6.1, but it was 6.x. They implemented the scope flows, and here we see one of them, which are quite necessary for several of our customers who really needed the scope flows because they did not have sequential processes. That comes especially in automatic stations where you have a lot of machines operating and not workers who are going in and out and sequentially operating in your workstation. So since 6.x it's possible, but there are always some new functionalities which we request. And like I mentioned before, we approach Siemens, we create issue reports, which will be then moved into enhancement requests. And we, in the past, had already achieved several application changes or enhancements in EasyPlan. Question 4. And that one is also a very interesting one. Are there use cases where both MPP and EasyPlan are used simultaneously? So that is also a question which I got from time to time, not only at the realize live, but also in the past, because our customers definitely had this question, and this question can be divided into several areas. We have the two screenshots here, the rich client on top and also the EasyPlan at the bottom. And the idea behind that is, you want to use both. Does it make sense? Is it possible? And the answer is, Siemens tries to establish EasyPlan as their future planning tool for manual process planning in their PC portfolio, which means is that in the long run, definitely the rich client will not be used anymore. At least that is the idea of Siemens, and we can see that they are really pushing for this. Nevertheless, there are still some use cases using the rich client. And I'm not sure if that will ever change, but nowadays it's still the case. Because the rich client, as I mentioned before, is a very powerful tool. It can be used for the key user. The key user who has a lot of knowledge of Teamcenter actually prefers the rich client. And that is what I get from some customers who say, yes, I want to use this because I'm an expert. The process planner, they will still use the EasyPlan, of course. But when it comes to preparing their work, for example, preparing their collaboration contexts, it is, in my opinion, still the suitable tool to use this, because I can use the many windows in the rich client. I can have several BOM windows. I can have even several resource windows. I can have them also distributed on two screens, and I can design this on a day-to-day base when it comes to project to project to project, because sometimes you need more, sometimes you need less. And you can scale this depending on the project. You can, of course, also create windows, different windows or segments in your web application too, but they are basically configured. And once you have them configured and you wanted them differently, you have to do a little bit more than just adjust it in your screen. The rich client, therefore, with its Eclipse base, is very powerful. And we still use it for creating their content for the users. The general practice is actually everything what is PLM related. PLM related means life cycle. The process planners, they want to plan. They want to plan their processes. They don't want to think too much about the life cycle, even though they have to consider it. But when we talk about life cycle, we talk about a lot of functionalities. We are talking about revision rules, configuration rules. We talk about a lot of rules and configuration in the system, and usually the key users are the ones who know how to deal with that. And then they prefer to use the rich client. Once this has been done, this can be then carried over to the process planners, which are fairly, they don't want to go too deep into the PLM stuff, and then they start their process planning. Once this is done, they release, of course, their process planning, and that's it. So the planning itself can be done in EasyPlan, and I think this is a fairly good use case to use both worlds. You should be, of course, careful, and that is always the case when you are dealing with the same data on both ends. We have done this in an organizational way. So, for example, I create the frame, and the content is created then for the process planner, in our case, creates this in the EasyPlan world. So that is MPP and EasyPlan next to each other. Like I said, Siemens wants to go all the way to the web application. Maybe we will see this also in the coming years. For the time being, we can also operate with both of them. And when operating with EasyPlan, of course, people really prefer that very streamlined surface. I can show this here. This is a very simple way to adjust or to assign my materials from the MBOM on the left side, and on top is my process structure. So I assign them to my operation, and that's it. It would be the same in MPP, but since the MPP is a very cluttered user interface, people, especially process planner, really prefer this view. Question number 5. Can you use EasyPlan to create work instructions? And that is actually one of the biggest things which I'm dealing with right now. In the past years, that was more or less a side track. It was mentioned from time to time, but what happens right now, it cannot be compared to what happened a few years ago. People increasingly are talking about work instructions. And when we talk about work instructions, that is an interesting story when it comes to Teamcenter or Siemens in general, because Siemens has an an electronic work instruction integration. That EWI integration is also tightly connected to EasyPlan. So you can create electronic work instructions using EasyPlan. And the focus of using those work instructions there when using EWI is creating a text-based documentation plus the 3D data around it. So you have a step-by-step description, and you have also the 3D model. When you publish it, then all of them comes into an HTML document, which you can distribute, or you can keep it in Teamcenter. So when your shop floor workers are accessing it, they can then access this document with the text-based description and also the 3D data around it. That works. The EWI integration has also its pendant in the MPP world. And that is actually what was giving me some headache in the last year. It is actually very limited when it comes to functionality, because aside from those aspects which I mentioned, it does not do anything more. It is a very simple 3D integration, a fairly simple approach. It works, but it is not really sophisticated, to be honest. And one of those things is that it does not support any animations, which are increasingly requested from the customers on the ground. Not in the first step, to be honest. So they don't say, I need animations right now, but they say, I want to use them in future, and I need the groundwork for this. And when we want to do that, then the EWI is not really the tool which we're going to need. For that, we need the Rapid Author with its integration. The Rapid Author is the second approach in the Siemens world, in the MPP EasyPlan world, to create work instructions. And the Rapid Author can also in itself create process plans and the steps. So it can create its own process plan, but it can also integrate them, both of them. It can reuse the process plan from EasyPlan. That's actually the powerful approaches to do that. There is no direct connection between the Cortona objects and the Rapid Author, or sorry, the EasyPlan objects right now. That is currently only done with one small detour. I have to create one Cortona 3D object. But once this has been done, I can carry over all that information directly into the Rapid Author and reuse all the steps. And reusing the steps means I have already created a lot of steps in my process planning. I have done a lot of work before, and now I want to reuse this. And that is what the customers really like, because they say, somebody has done this before, somebody has done the processes and the operations. All what I want to do is to enhance it with my work instruction. So what we do is we collect all those processes and steps and open them in Rapid Manual. And once this has been done, the work instruction is automatically created, reflecting the process structure, and I can see what I have done before. Depending on how deep I want to make this automation process, it depends on really much how much we invest in the so-called import profiles, which analyze the process structure in MPP EasyPlan and carry them over into the Rapid Author. So the idea is that we have then our product, which is assembled, and I have currently even one project ongoing where we focus to do 98% of all the work instruction steps or the animation itself automatically. I have to say 98%, because in some cases you cannot really avoid to change the camera position, because you cannot really predict the best camera prediction, the position all the time. So you have to adjust that too. So the Rabbit Author is still, as the name mentions it, an authoring tool. And in some cases you have, of course, to make the adjustments, but not too much, please, because we don't have the time for it. So we want to create the work instruction automatically, including their animations, and only optionally enhance them with complex animations, like a camera movement all around the project, or we want to go to a certain angle, or we want to have a specific animation. There in Rabbit Author, there are many animations which are quite sophisticated. So that is, I would not say the big thing, but I see definitely a peak in my work when operating with Siemens tools, that the question of work instructions are increasingly a thing, because in the past customers were using process planning in the downstream processes, but they moved them more and more to Teamcenter, and this is one of the reasons. And actually, this is also the next question. What is the reason that customers increasingly use Teamcenter EasyPlan for creating bill of process in Teamcenter, compared to before, where this was covered primarily in ERP systems such as SAP? And we see this in the market. We used that in the past, SAP, or ERP systems in general. I don't want to say SAP only, but our customers primarily used SAP in the past. And they say, we want to move forward. We want to move forward to Teamcenter. Why? Because there are certain reasons to do that. And that also relates to EasyPlan. So in an ERP system, we plan alphanumeric. We don't have any, we don't have any geometry, don't have any CAD data. We just move to the process plan. We have the material number, we have the process steps, and we have the process header. So the ERP system never really used this 2D, 3D information. What we have sometimes is the 2D information, which was carried over into the ERP system, but that's it. And when we talk about virtual planning, we are talking about process planning using 3D data. And of course, with the downstream process, which I just mentioned, such as with the work instructions, then the ERP system, which is thinking in an alphanumeric way, is not really the tool which you can use. So the customers needed some solutions, and in many cases, that was Teamcenter. Teamcenter used in a structure way, so creating the EBOM and the MBOM. That was the first step, and sometimes one of the biggest one. And once you have the MBOM, you can also move then to the process planning using the bill of process. And once you have done this, you can move over to the work instructions. So we use then in the PLM system the CAD information. We use the bill of material information, which has been moved to the PLM system. And this tight connection between CAD and material is quite powerful in Teamcenter. There are, of course, a lot of issues to be solved before you can do this, but that is fairly straightforward project. And it always works to a certain extent. So we have then the data in Teamcenter, and we can start now really using the powerful tools in the Siemens world, no matter if it's MPP or EasyPlan. In that matter, both of them are equally powerful now. In the past, of course, there was also here an advantage for the MPP, because it had very powerful possibilities, as I mentioned before. But EasyPlan is really catching up here, and in many cases, it can already solve the challenges which the normal process planner, the bill of material planner needs to do. So it is a powerful planning tool, and it enables to finally make a comprehensive model of the bill of process, including all the 3D data coming from the product, of course, and also the resource. So we are not only talking about the bill of material, we also talk about resources here. So what does mean this for work instruction again? As I mentioned before, once we have all those PPR models connected to each other, and ready also for the transfer into the shop floor. We can prepare the work instruction in Teamcenter, in the MPP or the EasyPlan world, and store them there. So the Rapid Author from Cortona 3D also allows the creation of them. So the automatic creation of the work instruction, which is another very big benefit there. Instead of creating a Word document bit by bit, step by step, we use the bill of resource, the bill of process, and the bill of material, the three models, and combine them to a comprehensive work instruction. So the work is now not only alphanumeric, it's now a 3D work instruction with animations, and I have also increasingly the requests using PMIs, depending on the models. PMIs primarily for part planning and also part production. And of course, we need to send them to the ERP system. So using the T4X interface, so T4S, T4ST, that is one of the biggest majors of using then the T4S integration to SAP or to any other ERP systems. There is a foundation which also enables to connect to other ERP systems. And that includes the work which we have done before and also the work instructions itself. So I have covered 6 questions. I have covered 6 answers. Those answers can be enhanced. You will have later your possibility to also address your questions. If you say, oh, he did not address my big question, I need to ask that again, you will have your chance later on. For the time being, I want to give the mic to my esteemed colleagues from Magna Steyr and Nina, because that is our primary project where we have been working on since almost 11 years, 12 years. And Nina, I would like to hand you over the presentation. Can you please share your screen? Not sure if I have unmuted her.
So I did already. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the sound is good?
Sound is good.
Okay. So one moment.
Okay. Can see your screen, Nina, just for your information.
Yeah. Okay, then I will start. Thank you, Ernest. Hello and welcome to our lecture, Magna's Next Generation for Body-in-White Production Planning of Complete Vehicles. As already mentioned, we gave this lecture at the event Realize Life Europe 2024. Now we want to show you a few slides. So it doesn't go to the next slide. Now it's working. First of all, I would like to introduce ourselves. So my colleague's name, who is also in this call, is Daniel Franjic, and I'm Nina Zilovec. So we both are solution architects of virtual planning and simulation tools within the digital factory. Additionally, I'm the project leader of the project that will be part of this presentation now. We work in the automotive industry at a multi-OEM contract manufacturer. We are engineering and manufacturing partner for traditional OEMs and new entrants. Our expertise of complete vehicle manufacturing is based on more than 120 years of experience. Then you can see here the company's name. Our company's name is Magna Steyr Fahrzeugtechnik, and we are part of the manufacturing department, Center of Competence, Body-in-White. Now it was working. Here a brief overview of our company. In order to keep the distances to our customers short, we have built up a global network. So over 11,000 employees are working across 4 manufacturing, and 19 engineering locations. The manufacturing locations are Zhenjiang in China, Hoče in Slovenia, Heilbronn in Germany, and Graz, Austria, where we are working. On this slide, you can see our plant in Graz. Besides our engineering solutions, we offer tailor-made solutions for all manufacturing tasks. Our plant in Graz offers a body shop, paint shop, and general assembly. And this is supported by our manufacturing engineering, purchasing, logistics, quality SQA, and IT departments. In the last slide of our company presentation, you can find a selection of our references. We have always been pioneers in the past. For example, the BMW X3. This was the first time where we did the complete vehicle development and the production in our plant in Graz. Or the Mercedes-Benz SLS was the first aluminium body developed and produced in Graz. The Peugeot RCZ, for example, was the first vehicle completely virtual developed and produced in Graz. Then Mini Countryman, Mini Paceman, BMW, the 5 Series were produced in Graz as well. Current highlights now are, for example, the Mercedes-Benz G-Class, which has been produced since 1979, or the manufacturing of the Jaguar E and I-Pace, where we produce different drive types on the same production line, so standard combustion engines, plug-in hybrids, and full electric vehicles. For efficient vehicle productions, virtual planning and simulation tools are essential. Now I'm handing over to Daniel, my colleague, who gives you an overview about these tools in the body invite.
Thank you, Nina. Hello from my side as well. As already mentioned, my name is Daniel, and now I'm going to show you how we're using these virtual planning and simulation tools within the digital factory. In the body-in-white production planning, we use virtual planning and simulation software throughout the whole development and production phases, starting from the concept development, proceeding to the serial development, and finally moving into the serial production of complete vehicles. Here on the top, you can see the planning phases I just mentioned. We have many different use cases within the digital factory. For these use cases, we use purchased software from Siemens and Autodesk, and we have our own in-house developed tool as well. Starting with the Siemens software, we use the process designer for our product data management, our product planning, which contains the assembly sequence, and we also use the process designer for our production planning. In this step, we create our production processes, for example. We use Process Simulate for our product and planning and product validation by doing accessibility investigations. Additionally, we use Process Simulate for offline programming to create a program which will then be used in real production. Next up, we have plant simulation, which we use to create our process flows and to create a holistic production process. As we want to be as efficient as possible as soon as possible, we start with plant simulation in the quotation phase. As I already mentioned, we also use Autodesk software. The software we use from Autodesk is AutoCAD and Inventor. With these tools, we are able to generate layouts and do the layout planning of our factory model. We also use 3D scans from our production to compare them to our virtual planning. Last but not least, we have our only in-house developed tool, as I mentioned, which can be seen on the top right and is called FTA. FTA stands for Fügetechnik Audit and is our in-house developed quality inspection monitoring tool. Now I want to focus on one tool, the Process Designer. On the previous slides, you were able to see our planning and simulation tools. And now let's go on with the Process Designer. So you may ask yourself, why am I focusing on this tool? A few years ago, we got the information that the Process Designer will be phased out, which means it will reach its end of life. That was the important basis that made us think about the future, the next generation of planning software. But the end of life was not the only reason. There are also many different challenges we have to face and still are facing and still have to face with the process designer. The biggest issue for us is the manual data management. For example, the manual administration of files. The next thing is that there are no out-of-the-box functions for change management and for workflow management. In these days, the possibility of global collaboration is getting more and more important. Unfortunately, there are insufficient options for this as well. And the complexity of product lines is increasing, so it's necessary for our production planners to have an intuitive user interface. Thank you, and that's all from me. I'm handing back to Nina now.
Thank you, Daniel. To change the pain points to improvement potentials in data, change, and workflow management, we decided to go to the next software generation from Siemens. In 2019, we initiated a strategic project with our project partner Siemens and Caron. To the project content, the main goal is to replace our current planning and simulation tools, Process Designer and Process Simulate. So Process Simulate as well, because it's working in combination with Process Designer. The new ones are Teamcenter Manufacturing, the rich client application Manufacturing Process Planner, and also the web-oriented EasyPlan. Then the Assembly Line Planner and Process Simulate on Teamcenter. One important thing, with these new tools, we are not productive yet, but we are close to it. With Teamcenter and Process Simulate on Teamcenter, we are close to the first productive use. So we often got the question, why not only Teamcenter, but also the Assembly Line Planner, and why also EasyPlan? So the data management we always do with the Manufacturing Process Planner. That's working very well. But for the production planning, we saw more options. The first is using the MPP, or Manufacturing Process Planner. The second is using the Assembly Line Planner, or ALP, and or EasyPlan. In our opinion, doing production planning in the MPP is very complex, and there is no state-of-the-art user interface for the production planners. Additionally, the rich client application, MPP, has hardly no enhancements by Siemens anymore. On the other side, the new planning tools, ALP and EasyPlan, are easy to use, have a very intuitive user interface in our opinion, and have still further development. Why Assembly Line Planner and EasyPlan? We will use ALP for the automated processes, so planning of the automated processes, the robots and so on, and EasyPlan for the manual processes, planning of the worker processes. In 2021, we also did an early adopter program with Siemens. It was an agile collaboration to get ALP ready for the market. Our production planners tested the software and were very happy with it. After each test, we handed over needed enhancements to Siemens, and until today, most of them are already implemented. Summarized, we decided to add ALP and EasyPlan to our system landscape in our strategic project. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you, Daniel.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, as you just saw, the Magna Steyr project is quite an interesting one because it has practically all areas which we had to cover. When it comes to process planning, you saw that we are even using 3 applications there, the MPP, the EasyPlan, and also the NX ALP, even though we still will go live next months. It will definitely happen, and we are currently fleshing out the last obstacles here. And you can see that the future for Siemens is definitely not the MPP anymore, but the applications around it. Nina already mentioned it. There are new functionalities coming, but not for the MPP. It's coming for the for the EasyPlan, it's coming for the NXALP, depending on which process you want to be supported here. But we are now at a stage where we were showing you a lot of things. We were showing you questions, answers, even the project at Magna. Now it's the chance for you also to contribute to the discussion, because this is what I want to do. Just give me just a second, because the presentation needs to move on, because now we want to have an open discussion. And this open discussion, I want to do it in both ways. I will unmute your mics at any moment, but before I do this, I would ask you, we have a small, we call it Mentimeter program working. So when you scan this code with your phone, you can address your questions there too. The questions, they will be shown to each and everyone. I will look through them. I'm not sure if I can cover them all. That depends on very much how many I will get and if I can respond to them in time. So I have also to see what's coming from your side, but it's definitely to your choice and chance now to do that. I will also share the screen for this here. Just a second, might load a bit. So that is what I see here. So once you have scanned your code, you can address your questions there. And then I will also unmute your mics. So all the mics are now open. You are still muted, so you can also address them on your mics. Nevertheless, I would prefer that when you send your questions through the Mentimeter, that would be quite useful, and I give it a few seconds, few minutes, no rush. Just a second. I hope it's working. If somebody has a problem, because I was having yesterday some issues with it, please let me know. Okay, we have the first question here. Why is MPP phased out? The reason why MPP is phased out, because in the past, the MPP in general, the rich client was always a big concern when it comes to deployment. The deployment of the rich client was always a step which has to be considered. And MPP, or the rich client in general, was quite an old solution, to be honest. If you go back to the core of the rich client, we are talking about even the late 90s. And of course, there were some enhancements because it's based on a Java application. So of course, there were always improvements, but nevertheless, it was an issue you had to consider. But that was not even the primary issue, because you can always plan for it. The real problem was it was very tedious and time consuming to enhance it. If you wanted to have your own button, if you want to have your own application, you want to have your own style sheets were also introduced in MPP itself, but that only included a certain area in the MPP. So you could not easily change everything. You could not change the drop-down menus. You could not change when it comes to including new functionalities. It was, in general, quite a tedious tool, and Siemens also said, we don't want to have this anymore. And we also see it in the market. The others were moving increasingly into web applications, which were deployed without any problems. And so from that point of view, they said we have to move to the web client. I hope that this answers your question. I will mark this as answered. Please ask me again if you don't think that it was the case. Why EasyPlan for manual process planning and ALP format at once? What is the difference? It's a good question. When dealing with EasyPlan, or in the past when they were designing it, they had very much really the manual process in mind. because they already had also the ideas regarding the NX ALP, because the approach for manual process is a bit different than for automatic ones. When dealing with EasyPlan, they had the workers in mind, which had to line balance, which had to cover the workstation, while in the ALP area, they were having robots and automatic process in focus. And when we talk about the latter, then we talk heavily about planning in 3D. We talk about a very powerful 3D tool. And by that time, and even nowadays, sometimes they were not so very satisfied with the performance of the browser. So there was a need to have a very powerful 3D tool. And the 3D tool which Siemens had at hand is, of course, NX. And since NX is their primary tool for all kind of 3D operations, not only for CAD, but also for CAM, and also in our case now for manufacturing in general, they decided to move it there, where they can really focus on the NX application as a very powerful 3D tool with all the benefits which a 3D tool offers. There are, of course, also initiatives to streamline both of them, so to move also the EasyPlan into the area for automatic processes, and also vice versa, NX ALP for the manual process. But I'm honest, I don't think that they will ever be very good in either of them. So I think that it will stay like it is, that the NX ALP will be the solution, which is for the 3D or for the automatic process, while the EasyPlan more for the manual process. Since Teamcenter is in the background, it is not really a big issue, because then they can always scale which tool is the right one for you. But it's a good question, and it's also a relevant one. So I will mark this also as answered. I think, is that the same question again? Sorry, maybe I did not see that. Oh, sorry, I think I made a mistake. I marked the wrong one. That one is the one I have to mark as answered. Sorry again, that is right. When would you recommend electronic work instruction, and when rapid author for work instructions? When you don't have the need for animations, then you are okay with the electronic work instructions, because when you need the 3D model, you need the text, then you can do this with electronic work instructions. When you want to do more than that, and I'm not only referring to rapid manual or the creation of manuals in general, when we are talking about creating a very complex book, and I really have to call it a book, then the rapid author is the tool which really enables you to do that. When you want to just have work instructions for one station, for one process, EWI will do this. But what I have sometimes is more than that. I want to create not only the work instructions plus the animations, which the rapid author can do, but I want to create a whole manual of your product. Then you need certain methodologies. Sometimes you need for that content management. And therefore you need a very powerful tool which can really do this. And electronic work instruction is not capable of doing this. Aside from that, you can do more with rapid author than just creating work instructions. You can create also spare part catalogs, which are also very important when we talk about services. So when we talk about service, we not only talk about the manuals, we talk about the spare part catalogs and the management of both of them. So depending on how you scale it and what is your major requirement, I would opt for the one or the other one. That being said, to be honest, it is not official yet, but what was also intriguing in the last year, I did not see much development in electronic work instruction as well. So I was actually a bit wondering why there is no much investment there, and I never really got an answer to this, because Siemens, of course, they will not disclose everything there. But it was quite obvious that they did not do much, and frankly, I would not be surprised if Siemens says our work instruction tool in the future will be the rapid author, because it does everything what we need for electronic work instruction, plus even more. And it's also already tightly integrated. With the future EasyPlan version, which has been already confirmed, the rapid author will be directly connected to the EasyPlan application, as I mentioned before. So that is another sign for me. They have more intention, Siemens has more intention to integrate rapid author rather than to extend the EWI. That does not mean that they want to phase it out entirely. That they never said, but it looks for me that they don't put so much effort in it, because anyway, and that's what I see when they use the electronic work instruction or the sales approach for work instructions, they rather use the rapid author than the electronic work instruction. Okay, I hope that answered your question. Again, if not, just ask again. Do you have any experience with model-based definition PMIs in EasyPlan? I have experience with PMIs, yes. In fact, I was having a company near Munich, which is creating jet engines, or parts of it, and they had a project together with me where we were looking how to leverage PMIs. And we did not use for that EasyPlan, we used for that Active Rapid Author. We were going directly to it because we wanted to have our target was to create a document where we can browse through the pages of a 3D model. So what they were doing, they were creating in NX all the PMIs. They were creating also the model views in NX, and they say that we need to port into the shop floor. And we used the rapid author to extract that directly from NX. So we did not even use EasyPlan for that. We bypassed it basically and used those pages coming from NX to project the PMIs into an application or into a publication from Rapid Author. And actually, this is also the reason why I think that the Rapid Author offers me much more possibilities than just an electronic work instructions, because I can still create now the work instruction with Rapid Author, but I have also now the pages extracted from the model views in NX and see the PMIs directly projected. Of course, and in order to address your questions, you can use the visualization component of the EasyPlan to project also PMIs, because you have basically the same as a rich client where you can view the JTs, which are tessellated from your 3D data, and that also includes the PMIs when you have the setting set. So I can see that also in EasyPlan. So if I have an MBOM with the JT data, tessellated data with the PMIs, then I can also view them in EasyPlan. That are the two approaches there. Okay, next one. In Alfa Laval, we are not using MPP or EasyPlan yet, and we are about to define our digital manufacturing roadmap. In this case, can we directly go for EasyPlan, or MPP is required to consider? That's a very process-related question. In theory, you can directly go to EasyPlan right away. There is no need to say if you want to use EasyPlan, you have to use MPP. That would be definitely the wrong message. You can go directly to EasyPlan. The question, however, is if that is the best process, if that is the ideal process, because maybe you remember that we had this data management segment. Also, Magna Steyr was showing that they were preparing the work for their process planner in MPP, because they had all the capabilities. They had the powerful tools there. You can do this also in EasyPlan, and that's actually what Siemens wants to do in future too. So if you have a streamlined processes which allows this to do in EasyPlan, then you can also do this in EasyPlan. You can create, for example, a collaboration context also in EasyPlan. And in future, it will be definitely the case that you can phase out MPP entirely, because that should not be used when you plan to do process planning at all. And if Siemens is persistent, then they will even consider to remove it for even data management. So yes, you can go directly to EasyPlan, but I would prefer that we check this with your process, we analyze this, because I still have a lot of customers who still use the MPP even for the first steps. Okay. When would you recommend to move from RAC MPP to active workspace? Well, Active Workspace, just to define the term, is actually the rich client in general for the RAC. So it's not only EasyPlan, it can be structure management, it can be systems engineering, it can be EasyPlan. Everything relating to a web client is mentioned with Active Workspace. And I used Active Workspace fairly soon when it comes to reading information. So when I'm consuming information, when I'm consuming the data sheets, when I'm consuming the work instructions, for example, whenever it comes to consuming, I started using Active Workspace, I think already in 2017, 2018. The first customers were using that, but that was really limited to just reading because we were fairly confident that the data creation using Active Workspace as a tool for actively creating data at this time was not really useful. We had more shortcomings than really benefits. That has changed. So when it comes to using Active Workspace or EasyPlan, you can definitely create a lot of data now when it comes to creating structure. So when you create a bill of material with an annex integration, for example, that works from my perspective already quite well. It is, of course, still some possibilities are left out in EasyPlan, for example. I'm still missing a very good functionality when it comes to creating the in-process assemblies. In-process assemblies are the product, how it is built from station to station, from workstation to workstation, so I can see how it's built up. That was still better solved in MPP, but also much more complex. It was actually a horrible tool there, but it worked when you know how to use it. I'm missing something like this a bit in EasyPlan. The Annex ALP, for example, has this functionality because they say when they designed the Annex ALP, we need that definitely. That was very important because the robots had to know if they can reach that component, that part. For a human being, that is a bit easy, but for a robot, as you can imagine, that is much more crucial than for a human. Even though, of course, we need also reachability studies also for the human. But yes, the Active Workspace, as with the rich client, as with the EasyPlan, will be the tool of the future, and there are many use cases where you can definitely use it much more better. I also used it very early with the release process. So, for example, I have NX, I use NX, and I want to release my work. I can use this now using Active Workspace quite fairly, and I don't need for that even a rich client where I used it before. Yes, so I hope that answers your question. I have to look at the time. We still have time. It's good. How to use EasyPlan to align changes on the EBOM, 150% BOM used from CTO to one or more planned BOMs or to even many thousand configured BOMs. Yeah, that is the question of how to use the bill of material process on the EasyPlan. And EasyPlan is definitely still not completely designed for a very complex process when it comes to multi-BOM. You can create an EBOM MBOM process, so that question can be done. You can have a 150% BOM, which is designed around a CTO process, or can be used around the CTO process, and you can create your MBOMs. And when it comes to this approach, we are very fast also how to use the collaboration context, how to collaborate with different BOMs with one EBOM. And this is a methodology which we have to deal with frequently. So can we do this also with this particular question? I think we have to look more in detail what that means. I have one customer who wanted to do exactly like something like this, but we ended up to create more this for the transfer from Teamcenter into the SAP world, where that has been calculated through the transfer into the ERP system. So I'm not sure if that is really helpful to be done in Teamcenter. I definitely have to look why it has to be in Teamcenter. Does it make sense to be seen there? There are some cases where it's absolutely the case. Some car manufacturers, for example, calculate based on this kind of approach if there are some DMU issues. So for them, it's necessary. I'm not sure if that is here the case too. A very interesting question. I would certainly want to discuss this in a project if you want to talk regarding this with us in future. I know that this wasn't a 100% response to the question. We definitely have to look into it. I will still mark it as answered. Let us have a discussion afterwards. So next one, is there a way to work with EasyPlan to plan the same product on an assembly line with multiple operators, balance, e.g. 20, 25, 30, 50 operators, flexible line? Flexible line. So when it comes to different multiple operators, an assembly of the same product, and then many operators. We have, of course, always the question of line balancing when it comes to create a bill of process where we have to balance the operators. So that is a fairly standard requirement, which is also covered by the EasyPlan. A flexible line I had before when it comes to different products produced on the same line. So I have 3 products, and the 3 products are built on the same line, but the operators are the same, the 20, 25, 30, even 50 operators. So they had to deal with different products coming down the line. And this is actually a standard which is also covered in EasyPlan. The challenge which we have here is more in EasyPlan, we need to have one MBOM. That is one of those constraints which sometimes causes some headache at the customer side, because EasyPlan really expects one MBOM. And when you are talking about producing different products on the same line, then we have to think how to align those MBOMs into one MBOM. That is the only challenge I see when seeing this question here. And this is also a question which I have frequently, because the products are in many cases also configured. So there is a variant component inside that. And when we talk about that, we are talking fast regarding the product configurator in Teamcenter. And that is actually when it gets very interesting. We have the EasyPlan, we have the product configurator, we have the EBOM process. Also the question before, the same actually goes into the same direction. We want to configure thousands of possible products, and we have then to line balance them in EasyPlan. And that's actually sometimes the paradigm between I want to have a very simple tool for process planning, but I have a very complex process. And I believe this is also one of the reasons why many customers nowadays still use the MPP, because they still have to cover all the possible use cases. They have a very vast possibility of possible products, a very vast range of products, and still they want to have it very easy for the process planner, so that the process planner is not overwhelmed with the information. And that also means that I don't want to have 10 MBOMs to work with. I want to have only one MBOM. And EasyPlan says, yes, I want to have it easy for you. I give you one MBOM. But then comes the requirement, but I have several products. That means I have several MBOMs. How to deal with that? So I think that this is a very good example to say that is always a very big challenge, how to define, I want to use only EasyPlan, I want to use MPP a little bit. When does it make sense to use the MPP? It is always very depending on the process behind that. But if everything is done, so if I have the EasyPlan running, if I have an assembly line with multiple operators and also with multiple products, then, and it is all congested into one collaboration context, then I can actually do this. That is only the question, and I say really only how to get there. All right. I think that was, what is coming? No, that is now the beginning again. That was the last question I see here. That's good because we still have one slide left. And that is because we are basically now at the end. I would like to have your feedback. It's the same application. So I would be very happy if you give you a few feedbacks from your side. If you liked this session, if you liked that overview, if you liked also that format, because the idea here was not only to have a frontal discussion, we did it now, of course, but we also wanted to have your feedback. I also want to encourage you to exchange with you more with us, your ideas, maybe your plans, and also come into our future discussions when it comes to the next steps. What I also want to encourage you, and that's also the reason why I wanted to have an open discussion, is you can also address each other, because you see each other also in the list. You can also ask, for example, Alpha Laval wants to ask something from GK Ken. Does it make sense? It's up to you. I would like to offer you this possibility. Of course, the Magna Steyr project always is one of our, I would say, lighthouse projects. We operate with them since more than 10 and 11 years, and they definitely had a very good, we definitely had a very good ride with them. And I'm really looking forward that we might have also something like this with you, because this is also a very, very big area. I have several colleagues who have, of course, their specialization. Some are in EasyPlan specialized, some are in NX-ALP specialized, but many have also a very broad overview who have to cover all of that kind of question, because sometimes it's really like in a soccer game. You have to play the ball from the defense to offense, and some people have to consider that this is a very complex process, as I mentioned before, with when does it make sense to use the EasyPlan? When does it make sense to use NX-ALP? And does it make sense at all to use MPP nowadays? That's a very complex question, but it can be answered. All right. I'm seeing. Is there anything you want to address? What hasn't been addressed now? We still have a few minutes. Other than I would like to come to a closure. All right, I see no further questions. That's perfectly fine. Then, as I mentioned before, if you need support in establishing or in executing a project relating to EasyPlan or its surrounding system, it's not only EasyPlan. You see, we have to cover a lot of miles when it comes to establishing EasyPlan. This is only one brick in the wall. We cannot say this is one project. Sometimes we have to include the bill of material process, so engineering process. Sometimes we have to include the downstream process, the work instruction, the transfer into the T4S, into the ERP world. So it's never just one window where we look, but it is a very complex process. And we have also a methodology to do this, because we, as a consulting company, say tools are just the tools to execute the work. And if it's tool 1, tool A, tool D, it doesn't matter. It should fulfill your requirements. And we have a methodology to establish this, and then to decide based on your requirements where we do certain work, where does it make to use the tool A, B, C. And in the past, we did this with not only EasyPlan, we did it with any Siemens, SAP, Cortona 3D tool, and it always worked so far. Or it was also sometimes that's also a perfectly okay answer, that the tool does not really fulfill our requirements. We had to find another tool, and then we start from a base of a knowledge that we really analyze the requirements, and we need maybe a tool D. That is also a possibility. I must admit that it happens almost never, but it can happen. In any way,
I have one question, if it's okay.
Yes, of course, please.
Just how far, Axel from Alpha Laval?
Yes.
How far is EasyPlan, or how many customers outside automotive are using EasyPlan?
finally somebody's asking me that question. I was actually suspecting that question, but yeah. EasyPlan is indeed a tool which was primarily first used for the automotive area, and that was actually a complaint I got frequently from machining, from aerospace and defense. Actually, aerospace and defense in Germany, customers are increasingly contacting me, and we are looking how EasyPlan can be used. And EasyPlan can be used when it comes to assembly planning in general. It doesn't make any difference if this is a car, it's a machine. It doesn't make any difference. So from that perspective, I'm fairly confident to say that EasyPlan is a very good tool when it comes to assembly planning. When it comes to part planning, I'm not there where I say where we are currently with EasyPlan. So when it comes to machining a part, when it comes to drill down and so on, the typical part planning processes, then I believe that Siemens still has to do a little bit more work. They are currently enhancing the EasyPlan for exactly this purpose, because they understood that in the past, yeah, we had to cover our automotive customers because that are our biggest customers, but now we are moving into the other areas. And when I talk about aerospace and defense, then I see this requirement increasingly coming. I had only recently with two defense contractors in Germany a call where we had focused on this question, how we can establish this tool EasyPlan, because both of them are MPP users. Both of them had used MPP in the past or about to use Teamcenter in general, so that they extend MPP in general, not extend MPP in general, and therefore they are specifically also contacting me. How can we make use that EasyPlan also fulfill our requirements? And as I mentioned before, we have to then decide, does it fulfill your requirements, or do we have to change the methodology, or do we have to enhance the tool? And that is what I'm doing right now with Siemens frequently. I had only recently a company which was, of course, it's a component producer for cars. So it did not produce all the cars, only a certain part of the car, but it was again an assembly process. And we made an enhancements in EasyPlan which were very, very peculiar, to be honest. I did not expect this kind of request. It was using variant management in resource structures. So variant management, everyone of us knows that in bill of material and even in process plans makes absolute sense, but I never expected it that I will get a requirement where we have to configure even the resource structure. But they had this kind of request, and even though I would have expected that Siemens would never do this, they actually did the enhancement of their software so that you can make variant conditions and also executing on the resource structures. So what I want to say with this kind of example is definitely there are some shortcomings when it comes to part planning. It has to be addressed by Siemens, but it can be addressed. And when you have a very large focus on a long-term project in EasyPlan, I believe that they will successively move the functionalities into EasyPlan. And when it comes to estimate how many customers are non-automotive in EasyPlan right now, I have to think. I would say it would be now, it's of course still more than 50% are automotive, but I have not only automotive. Like I said, that's a question with that aerospace and defense is coming, then machining, tool making, they are coming now more and more into the EasyPlan area. And therefore, I believe that sooner rather than later, Siemens will have covered all the processes for the industries, in my opinion. The only thing where I don't think that there will be, but that's also not their intention, is the process industry. For the process industry, even though when you work with recipes, we are talking about discrete manufacturing when we talk about EasyPlan, at this point at least. I hope that answers your question, Axel.
Yeah, more or less. But then what about the manufacturing process planner? Is that used in many companies and also similar to Alfa Laval?
Well, MPP is definitely widely used. We have no preference in automotive there. MPP is really used in all kind of industries. And I think even Alfa Laval could easily use the MPP there, because the process which we can cover with MPP are so vast. I would be surprised if we cannot cover it. As long as it's discrete manufacturing, as I mentioned before, MPP will not be a problem. The problem I see with MPP is that MPP will not be developed in a way like EasyPlan. So when you have new functionalities coming in, you will always see them first coming in EasyPlan, and it is unlikely that Siemens will make any extensions in MPP. So if MPP is good for you nowadays, then it's good for you because you can definitely use it, and it will also work for several years, because even though that Siemens will not phase it out, it will definitely not invest too much money into MPP. For that purpose, they will use Active Workspace EasyPlan. You have to think about this more than if MPP will solve your requirements, because I believe there is a very high possibility that it will work with Alfa Laval very well.
Thank you. Now I get it.
So we still have a few minutes, and otherwise I will conclude my presentation. I would like to thank you for your attention. I really liked the exchange. There were, in the end, several questions, and the questions, I think, were all good. There was not one where I said, oh God, that is a question which does not make sense at all. No, that are actually very, very important questions which I see frequently. And as we all know, you ask one question and then the next, the answer might come. But even when it comes, it opens two more questions and so on and so on. You know how it is, and I would definitely encourage you to contact me. You have definitely already my email address, and you can. Oh, I see it's with 2L. Please, that's only 1L, not 2L, but you have my my email address anyway. And if you want to call me, the number is correct. The number is correct. And I would like to thank you, and I want to conclude this session right now. Thank you very much.